The present moment is the only moment that holds true power, and everything that ever was or will be lives inside this very instant. The kingdom we seek is not found in the stars or in some ideal future, it is consciousness itself. Our outer world is simply a mirror, an echo of our inner speech, silent assumptions, and daily imaginal acts. The only time that truly exists is right now, and this present moment is the single point in existence that holds absolute power. Everything that ever was and everything that ever will be lives entirely inside this exact instant. True power does not reside in delay, postponement, or the hope for a perfectly aligned tomorrow. Instead, power lives in immediate decision, in firm conviction, and in the quiet assumption that a desired outcome is already final and complete. Time must be understood as an obedient servant rather than a master. There is no need to spend energy preparing for a distant future when that very future can simply be called directly into the present. To wait is to actively accept separation from one's desires, and this hesitation only delays the miraculous unfolding of reality. The appointed hour is always now, serving as the open doorway to infinite possibility. This very breath, this current thought, and this immediate choice act as the ultimate access point to all of reality. Doubt and fear often attempt to pull attention away from this truth by projecting worries into a future that has not yet occurred. However, by firmly grounding the mind in the present moment, those future-based uncertainties lose their grip entirely. While the distant future cannot be controlled, total command exists over thoughts, emotions, and actions right now. There is no requirement for more time, extra lessons, or further confirmations dressed up as development. It is only necessary to strip away the illusion of waiting and step fully into the understanding that the moment to start being is now. The time to claim true power is not tomorrow, nor is it when external circumstances finally seem to align perfectly. This very present moment is the only one that truly holds any power, and everything that ever was or will be lives entirely inside this exact instant. So much energy is spent waiting for a sign, for a shift in the wind, or for permission from the world to step into a new reality. But there is no sign coming from the outside, because the power within is the sign, and it is the very permission that is so often sought. It is essential to stop looking to the external world for evidence or validation that a new life is unfolding. The physical senses will often deceive, whispering tales of delay, lack, and impossibility. These senses are merely reporters of what has already been imagined and accepted in the past, completely incapable of testifying to the powerful truth being conceived right now. Waiting is a symptom of disconnection from truth, built on the false belief that something outside must happen before an internal shift can occur. In reality, waiting only implies a state of separation from the desired outcome and actively delays the miraculous unfolding of life. The outer world is simply a mirror, a faithful servant that reflects inner assumptions and daily imaginal acts. Therefore, to wait for the external world to provide a sign is to misunderstand the profound law of creation, because the world is actually waiting to reflect the inner state. If one waits for the light of readiness to arrive from the outside before flipping the inner switch, they will only remain in darkness. True transformation demands an end to consulting doubt and arguing with temporary external appearances. There is no need to wait for a door to open, because consciousness itself is the door. When the bold decision is made to simply assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled right now, the physical world has no choice but to catch up. Power does not live in delay, it lives in the quiet, steady conviction that the desire is already done, final, and settled. By bringing the emotional state of fulfillment into this very present moment, the gap between desire and realization is entirely collapsed. One must fully embody the version of themselves who no longer hopes or waits, but who already possesses what is sought. When this inner certainty is maintained without relying on external confirmation, the universe seamlessly rearranges itself to mirror the truth back into physical form. The present moment is the only place where true power exists. So much time is spent waiting for a sign, waiting for a profound shift in circumstances, or waiting for the world to grant permission to step into a new life. But the profound truth is that the sign is not coming from the outside, because you are the sign, you are the shift, and you are the very permission you seek. All that is desired is already possessed, if only there is the courage to dare to assume it right now. There is absolutely no outside force holding anything back, there is only the current identity being worn, and identities are always chosen, never imposed. The only thing standing between you and complete fulfillment is the choice to believe in your own inner power. There is no need to wait for a door to open, because you are the door. True transformation begins entirely within, and you rise not by attempting to change other people, conditions, or events, but by changing your own internal state. There is nothing to earn and no worthiness to acquire, because you have always been perfectly worthy. The time to step into this power is not tomorrow, nor is it when conditions finally seem ideal. It is time to stop looking for approval from the world and start creating directly from within. By simply deciding to stop postponing your own greatness and claiming your new reality in this exact moment, all things become yours. Living in the end is a powerful concept that completely reshapes how desires and dreams are approached. Instead of putting fulfillment on hold and waiting for the external world to change, it requires embodying the state of having already achieved the desired goal long before it physically manifests. It is not about waiting for a sign or hoping for a better future, rather, it is about collapsing the gap between desire and realization by bringing the emotional and mental state of fulfillment directly into the present moment. This practice is not mere wishful thinking or pretending. It is the active process of truly feeling the emotions, adopting the mindset, and embodying the energy of the person who already possesses the desire. The end is not a distant milestone, it is the starting point and the launching pad from which all actions and thoughts must flow. To live in the end means to think from the fulfilled desire, not toward it, and to speak, move, and breathe as one whose wish is already a solid reality. For instance, if financial abundance is the goal, one must cultivate the feelings of financial freedom right now, making decisions entirely from the perspective of someone who is already wealthy. By shifting into this state, deeply ingrained limiting beliefs are rewired and replaced with the conviction that success, love, and abundance are already an established truth. The subconscious mind absorbs this new reality and begins to naturally align thoughts, actions, and the external environment to match the vision. The focus shifts entirely away from seeking external validation, because a profound sense of internal satisfaction has already been fully realized. Since the external world is merely a delayed reflection of past beliefs, persistence remains essential even when physical evidence has not yet caught up to the new internal state. By dwelling consistently in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, all resistance, doubt, and anxious attachment to exactly how or when it will happen simply melt away. In this relaxed state of certainty, the universe is allowed to effortlessly flow and rearrange itself to reflect this quiet, steady assumption. The world you see around you is not something separate from who you are. Instead, it is your mirror, your shadow, and your faithful echo. Everything you experience in your outer reality is simply a reflection of your inner state, perfectly matching your silent assumptions, your daily imaginal acts, and the internal conversations you have with yourself. The physical world acts as an obedient servant to your mind, meaning it has no choice but to reflect the images and beliefs you continuously hold within. When you look at your current circumstances, you are actually looking at a delayed reflection of your past thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Because of this, trying to force or manipulate the outside world to change is a misunderstanding of how reality works. The outer world is like clay in your hands, and to change it, you must always shape it from the inside out. All that you consider to be outside is merely a projection of your current state of consciousness. Therefore, if you want to experience a different reality, you must first change your concept of yourself. If you wish to transform your outer world, you have to transform the images and beliefs you carry inside. When you quietly assume the feeling of being loved, successful, or completely whole, the external world is absolutely compelled to rearrange itself to match that exact inner shift. You do not need to fight against conditions or try to change other people, you simply need to change your inner state, and the world will naturally shift to reflect the new truth you have accepted. To bring any desire into physical existence, one must go beyond merely thinking about it and step into the profound practice of feeling it as an absolute reality right now. The great secret of creation is to feel it real, which means to feel from the state of the fulfilled desire, rather than yearning for it from a place of lack. It is not enough to simply hold a mental picture, emotion is the very fuel that powers the manifestation of any dream. When an individual dares to feel exactly what they would feel if their goal were already accomplished, they bridge the gap between the invisible world of imagination and the tangible world of physical facts. This inner feeling is the true cause of all outer circumstances. When the mind and spirit are completely soaked in the vibration of fulfillment, the universe begins to move on behalf of that inner truth. By truly adopting the mindset and embodying the energy of someone who already possesses what they seek, a profound shift in consciousness occurs. The subconscious mind responds far more powerfully to this deep emotional resonance than to logic or forceful willpower. By feeling the desired outcome as though it is already a supreme fact, that new belief is permanently imprinted into the subconscious mind. Whatever is persistently felt to be true must eventually take physical form, because the outer world is compelled to reflect the inner state. The universe does not simply respond to empty thoughts, it responds directly to the emotional state of having already received. Therefore, true power lies in the quiet, persistent assumption and the deeply ingrained feeling that the desire is already a present reality. When one feels themselves to be whole, wealthy, or loved entirely from within, the external world has absolutely no choice but to conform and mirror that exact truth back into existence. There is no outside force holding you back, there is only the identity you continue to wear. Identities are never imposed upon us, they are always chosen. To experience a completely new reality, you must immediately accept and step into a new identity. This means you must stop delaying your own greatness and choose, right in this very moment, to identify with the version of yourself who no longer waits or hopes, but who simply knows. You do not need to wait for external conditions to change before you assume this new state of being, because the new state itself is what causes the conditions to change. You must select the version of yourself who already lives the life you long for and wear that new identity just like a garment. Feel it wrap around you, let it become deeply familiar, and persist in it until it becomes second nature. When you repeatedly visualize and accept yourself as having already achieved your desires, you internalize that exact image and fundamentally shape who you are at your core. By shifting your self-image directly through your imagination, you step into the I am the powerful creator within who chooses and knows it is already done. This new self walks with absolute certainty, speaks with pure authority, and lives entirely from the end result. As you sustain this new identity, the old self, the one who begs, waits, and hopes, must naturally fall away because it simply cannot stay. You no longer have to push yourself or rely on exhausting willpower, because when you change your self-image, your actions naturally follow and become a seamless part of who you are. To create a new life, you must become someone new, not through frantic effort, but through a silent, automatic, and immediate assumption of your true identity. Imagination is far more than a simple, whimsical escape from reality. It is the very foundational blueprint that constructs the world we live in. Everything experienced and seen around us, every magnificent invention, every piece of art, and every profound transformation, first begins as a spark within the human mind. Your own life is the direct product of what you hold in your imagination. The circumstances you navigate, the successes you achieve, and even the struggles you encounter are all born from the beliefs and vivid images carried inside your mind. The reality you inhabit today was meticulously shaped beforehand in the quiet recesses of your imagination, serving as the sturdy foundation upon which all your physical experiences rest. This mental blueprint constantly operates to create the exact conditions and circumstances that perfectly reflect your deepest thoughts and convictions. When looking at the physical world, it may seem fixed and unchangeable, but the outer world is truly nothing more than a faithful mirror reflecting your inner world, specifically the images you continuously entertain. These internal images, when fueled by genuine emotion, gradually take solid form and manifest as the tangible experiences of life. While many rely on sheer willpower to force change, such an approach relies on brute determination and inevitably drains mental and emotional reserves over time. Imagination offers a far more powerful and sustainable path because it creates a mental blueprint that completely bypasses these physical limitations. Unlike willpower, which struggles on the conscious level, imagination works directly with the subconscious mind, which governs the vast majority of all human thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. By vividly picturing a desired outcome, the subconscious begins to accept it as absolute truth, automatically setting into motion a series of events, actions, and decisions that perfectly align to make that inner vision a physical reality. In this limitless realm of imagination, there are no constraints bound by what the world considers logical, possible, or realistic. You are entirely free to envision and create anything. Every time you boldly declare the words "I am," whatever follows immediately becomes the new blueprint for your life's experience. By directing your imagination consciously and planting the seeds of your desires with absolute clarity, you hold the ultimate power to shape not just your present, but your entire future. Imagination is not merely a fleeting escape or a temporary daydream, it is the very engine of reality. When imagination is sustained, it transforms from a simple thought into an absolute truth. Sustained imagination is the persistent and deliberate focus on a desired outcome, firmly anchored by the deep emotions and physical sensations of having already achieved it. It acts as the vital bridge connecting the unseen world of the mind to the tangible world of physical experience. To turn a vision into a solid fact, profound mental discipline is required. It is not enough to visualize a desire only once or twice, the true power lies in consistently revisiting and reinforcing that exact mental picture. By regularly immersing the mind in the scene of the fulfilled wish and truly feeling the joy, success, and peace of that moment, the subconscious mind is compelled to accept this imagined reality as an undeniable fact. Because the subconscious responds far more powerfully to genuine emotion than to cold logic, it begins to automatically align actions, decisions, and external circumstances to match the inner vision. This practice demands a relentless commitment to the inner truth, even when the outside world seems to contradict it. The physical senses will often report lack, delay, or difficulty, but these external illusions must be ignored in favor of the sustained inner picture. Consistency is the anchor of this process. By making this imaginative focus a daily habit, especially during quiet moments like before sleep or upon waking, the desire remains active, alive, and deeply rooted in the mind. Furthermore, True sustained imagination requires absolute trust and patience, recognizing that every creation has its own natural gestation period. One must completely surrender the need to control exactly how or when the desire will physically manifest. The complicated details of bringing the vision to life belong to unseen forces. The only responsibility is to firmly maintain the feeling of the end result. Even in the face of obstacles, challenges, and setbacks, holding steadfast to the vision demonstrates a profound belief in its inevitable manifestation. Ultimately, this persistent and deliberate use of imagination is so powerful that it does not just bring about material success or physical changes, it fundamentally reshapes your internal reality, effortlessly cultivating lasting states of peace, happiness, and unshakable self-assurance. The five senses and human logic are so often treated as the ultimate rulers of reality, but they are merely servants, not sovereigns. The senses only report what has already been imagined, accepted, and solidified in the past. They act simply as reporters of old beliefs, entirely incapable of testifying to the powerful new truths being conceived in the mind right now. Because of this, the physical senses will constantly whisper lies, they will speak of delay, of lack, and of impossibility. To truly transform reality, one must learn to completely ignore the evidence of these senses whenever they do not align with the desired outcome. There is no need to wait for their confirmation to choose what is real, because the senses will naturally catch up only after the inner vision has been firmly accepted. Similarly, relying strictly on logic and reason keeps the mind tied entirely to what seems realistic or achievable based on present circumstances. Logic demands looking at the current facts and settling for what is deemed feasible, inherently limiting any true potential. Imagination, however, shatters these constraints and frees the mind to move far beyond the narrow limitations of logic and reason. It opens the door to profound innovation, creativity, and unexpected solutions that sheer willpower and logical deduction could never even conceive. Imagination operates in a limitless realm that utterly transcends the boundaries of logic, time, and space. In this sacred space, there is absolutely no restriction based on what the external world considers possible or realistic. By boldly releasing the grasp on what is physically visible and placing absolute trust in the invisible, a higher truth is awakened. Reality ultimately bends not to the one who carefully analyzes the facts, but to the one who holds their inner vision as supreme law, completely defying the loud protests of evidence and the stubborn limitations of the senses. Many believe that hard work, sheer determination, and relentless discipline are the only true paths to achieving what is desired. This heavy reliance on willpower demands that obstacles be pushed through with force, grit, and constant conscious effort. However, willpower operates much like a physical muscle. When used continuously, it inevitably experiences fatigue, slowly draining away mental and emotional reserves. This is precisely why so much burnout, loss of motivation, and eventual surrender occur when attempting to force life to change purely through discipline. There is a far more powerful, sustainable, and entirely different approach, replacing brute force with the profound use of inner imagery. Imagination vastly surpasses willpower because it operates on a completely different level of the mind. While willpower attempts to force action from the surface level of conscious thought, imagination bypasses this entirely and speaks directly to the subconscious mind, which silently governs the vast majority of all thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. When a mental blueprint is vividly formed and held within, the subconscious accepts it as a present reality and automatically sets into motion the events, decisions, and actions needed to align the physical world with that inner vision. Operating strictly on willpower often creates massive internal and external resistance because it fundamentally feels like a grueling struggle. It requires grinding through challenges, which generates friction, stress, and a heavy sense of obligation. In stark contrast, imagination is completely regenerative. By vividly picturing the desired outcome, genuine feelings of joy, excitement, and anticipation are generated. This positive emotional energy transforms the journey, drawing desires closer and replacing exhausting effort with a natural, intuitive state of flow. Instead of fighting against the tide or trying to bulldoze through external conditions, the path opens up effortlessly because actions are inspired rather than forced. Furthermore, willpower keeps the mind chained strictly to what seems logical or realistic based on current limitations. It operates under the belief that success requires sacrifice and struggle within the bounds of present circumstances. Imagination shatters these rigid constraints, freeing the mind to explore possibilities far beyond what is immediately visible. While willpower fixates rigidly on external behaviors and specific outcomes, often creating a stressful tunnel vision, imagination fundamentally reshapes identity at the very core. When the self-image is transformed from within through sustained inner imagery, the necessary actions follow completely naturally. There is no longer a need to push, strive, or strain, because living from that newly accepted identity becomes entirely automatic, effortless, and true. Conscious creation is the profound art of deliberately shaping your reality through the sheer power of your own thoughts, beliefs, and imagination. Most people wander through life on autopilot, constantly reacting to the world around them and mistakenly believing that life is simply something that happens to them. But true power awakens the moment you realize that life is entirely created from within. The very first step in this awakening is mastering your inner thoughts and speech. You must become deeply aware of the thoughts that run through your mind every single day, as many of them are simply automatic habits born from past conditioning. Once you shine a light on these unconscious patterns, you can begin the deliberate work of choosing new thoughts that perfectly align with the beautiful reality you wish to experience. Your outer world is nothing more than a faithful mirror, constantly reflecting your inner speech and silent assumptions back to you. You must pay close attention to what you are saying to yourself when absolutely no one else is listening, because that silent, internal conversation is your truest prayer and your most powerful decree. If you want to transform your life, you have to ensure that your inner dialogue perfectly matches the life you are choosing to step into. You must start talking to yourself as the person who already possesses everything you desire, replacing I will be or I hope with the unshakable certainty of I am. When you boldly declare I am, you are making the most creative and powerful statement possible, because you are not merely describing your current self, you are actively creating your new self. By letting your inner speech reflect this new, elevated identity, and allowing your thoughts to completely soak in the atmosphere of your fulfilled desires, your inner world will eventually overflow with such profound conviction that it has no choice but to spill out and take perfect physical form in your outer reality. Conscious creation is not merely a passive state of holding a thought, it involves action, but an entirely different kind of action. When reality is deliberately shaped from within, the steps taken in the physical world are no longer forced, frantic, or driven by fear. Instead, action becomes deeply inspired by the clear vision held steadily in the mind. When one lives entirely in the state of the fulfilled desire, every movement and choice arises from a profound place of perfect alignment. This is inspired action, and it feels fundamentally different from the grueling effort of sheer willpower. It unfolds as something entirely natural, effortless, and intuitive. Because the internal self-image has already been fully transformed through imagination, the necessary actions follow automatically, completely eliminating the exhausting need to push, grind, or rely on strict discipline. Operating from this absolute sense of internal completion opens the door to a beautiful state of flow. Progress becomes seamless because there is no longer a struggle or friction against external circumstances. By moving strictly from a place of quiet certainty and inner alignment, one works in flawless harmony with the universe, allowing life to unfold and flow with remarkable ease. Conscious creation fundamentally shifts the understanding of life from something that simply happens by default to a profound reality generated entirely from within. In this transformative process, thoughts provide the necessary direction, but emotion acts as the vital fuel that truly powers the entire experience. It is never enough to simply think about a desired outcome. It must be deeply felt as though it is already a present reality. Aligning emotion with a goal means completely immersing the heart and mind in the exact feelings of having already achieved that desire. When this profound emotional alignment occurs, the inner state perfectly matches the new reality, and this harmony is precisely what brings invisible desires into tangible, physical form. The universe does not merely listen to empty thoughts, it responds directly and faithfully to the emotional state. By actively cultivating joy, profound gratitude, and excitement about a vision, a powerful signal is continuously broadcasted that effortlessly attracts those exact experiences into daily life. This emotional immersion is the ultimate key to unlocking true power, because the subconscious mind responds far more powerfully to genuine emotion than it ever does to cold logic or reasoning. When a vision is felt with the deep joy and satisfaction of success, the vital connection between the inner mental image and the external world is immensely strengthened. By daring to feel the desired outcome as an absolute truth right now, that powerful new belief is permanently imprinted into the subconscious mind. Once this truth is deeply accepted, the subconscious automatically guides actions and beautifully shifts surrounding circumstances to perfectly align with that sustained emotional vision. An essential and profound aspect of conscious creation is the beautiful and necessary act of surrender, which means completely letting go of the how and the when. So many individuals get caught up in trying to manage, predict, and control every tiny detail of how their desires will come to life, but constantly obsessing over the exact sequence of events only creates heavy tension and internal resistance. It is simply not your job to figure out exactly how your dreams will come to fruition, nor is it your burden to determine exactly when they will manifest into the physical world. Your only true role is to maintain the clear mental vision and hold firmly onto the deep, joyful feeling of your desire as if it is already fulfilled. When you try to force the timeline or micromanage the steps, you are actually feeding the seeds of doubt, because the intense craving to know exactly how things will happen arises from a lack of certainty. But when you boldly let go of this desperate need for control, you allow yourself to deeply trust in the natural, beautiful flow of life. Surrendering is never about giving up, it means firmly trusting that the universe already knows the absolute best and most perfect way to bring your desires into reality. You do not need to figure out the complex steps or carefully plot out the sequence of events, because your imagination acts as the grand architect, while life itself is the faithful builder. By entirely releasing your grip on the how and the when, you open your life up to miraculous possibilities, unexpected pathways, and brilliant solutions that the logical mind could never have even considered. You must understand and accept that every single vision has its own natural gestation period, and your desires will beautifully manifest in their own perfect time. There is absolutely no actual delay in the realm of the spirit, there is only the temporary illusion of delay created by human disbelief. Therefore, you must simply relax, trust the unseen forces at work, and allow the magnificent process of creation to unfold naturally, magically, and effortlessly. Doubt and fear are the greatest enemies of our imagination, acting as the primary barriers between our current reality and the magnificent future we are meant to create. They actively weaken the powerful images we hold within our minds, making it incredibly difficult for our deepest desires to physically manifest. Often, these uncertainties whisper that our visions are too far-fetched or simply impossible, but it is vital to recognize that doubt is merely a product of past experiences, previous failures, and old conditioning. Our past absolutely does not define our future, and holding on to old disappointments only perpetuates a continuous cycle of limitation. To dismantle these obstacles, we must first cultivate profound self-awareness. We have to pay close attention to the subconscious inner dialogue that quietly questions our abilities, and we must consciously choose to replace those doubtful whispers with empowering statements of profound trust and faith. When fear arises, we must instantly shift our focus back to the clear, beautiful vision of our desired outcome. By vividly visualizing our goals and immersing ourselves completely in the feeling of having already achieved them, we bypass doubt and establish a powerful sense of certainty within. Active imagination will always be stronger than doubt because it taps directly into the infinite possibilities of creation. Furthermore, doubt constantly thrives on future uncertainties, feeding on anxious worries about things that have not yet even happened. We can completely strip fear of its power by firmly grounding ourselves in the present moment, taking control only of our current thoughts, emotions, and actions right now, building a deep, unshakable sense of self-worth, and knowing that we are truly deserving of our desires is also essential. We can diminish doubt even further by taking small, consistent steps toward our goals to steadily build our confidence, and by deliberately surrounding ourselves with positive, like-minded people who uplift our energy and reinforce our belief. It is completely natural to experience moments of fear, but the true secret is to never allow it to dictate our actions. By letting go of the anxious need to control exactly how and when our desires will unfold, and by deeply trusting the natural, unfolding process of life, we dissolve the heavy resistance of doubt and open the door for our dreams to effortlessly become reality. To truly overcome the barriers that stand between you and your highest life, you must awaken to a profound truth: you are a powerful creator, and the ability to shape your reality has always resided completely within you. Often, the greatest obstacles faced are not physical external circumstances, but rather the heavy shadows of doubt and fear that quietly creep into the mind. These doubts frequently stem from a deep-seated lack of confidence or a false sense of unworthiness, creating the illusion that life is simply something that happens to you. But to break through these internal walls, you must engage in the essential inner work of building an unshakable belief in your own infinite power and absolute worthiness. You are powerful beyond measure, not in some distant, ideal future, but right here and right now. There is absolutely no outside force holding you back, the only true limitation is the identity you continue to wear. You do not need the world's permission or external validation to step into your greatness, because you are the exact permission you have been waiting for. True faith is never just blind optimism, it is the deep, quiet, inner knowing that you are the sole architect of your experience. When you firmly believe in your own capacity to manifest your desires and understand that the universe is always working in your favor, the barriers of resistance naturally begin to crumble. By fully accepting that you are the one choosing your reality, every obstacle dissolves, and the world seamlessly moves in perfect accordance with your empowered state of being. The physical senses you rely on every day are merely reporters of the past, entirely incapable of testifying to the powerful new truth you are conceiving in this exact moment. When you step into the profound act of creating your reality, the physical evidence around you will often lie to you, whispering deceitful tales of delay, lack, and absolute impossibility. But you must understand that these five senses are meant to be your servants, not your sovereigns. They only confirm what you have previously accepted and believed, reflecting the shell of an old reality that no longer holds any true power over you. To truly break through the barriers standing between you and your highest life, you must develop the profound discipline to completely ignore the evidence of your senses whenever they conflict with your inner vision. Even when the external world seems to scream its protest, and the physical facts stubbornly contradict the beautiful reality you hold within, you must remain entirely steadfast. You cannot wait for your physical senses to confirm your new state before you choose to believe in it, because they will always lag behind your consciousness. Truth does not wait for facts to appear, it actively creates them. By boldly releasing your grasp on the visible world and holding your inner vision as the supreme law, you starve your doubts of the attention they need to survive. When you refuse to argue with temporary external appearances and consistently dwell in the feeling of your fulfilled desire, the physical world has no choice but to eventually catch up and perfectly mirror your unshakable inner certainty. Persistence is not about frantic, exhausting repetition, but rather a quiet, unbreakable conviction. When you assume a new reality, you must hold a calm, sustained inner certainty that completely overrides any noise of delay or temporary setbacks. The physical world around you is merely a delayed reflection of your past internal states, so it naturally takes time for your deeply held imagination to fully manifest in the tangible realm. During this period, your greatest barrier will be the temptation to argue with external appearances. You must learn to be completely still inwardly and understand that these external facts are temporary, while your inner assumption is the only eternal truth. If you dwell in the beautiful state of your fulfilled desire long enough, the outer world has absolutely no choice but to eventually bow and conform to that vision. Setbacks and obstacles are inevitable, and there will be moments when life throws heavy challenges your way, deeply testing your faith and commitment. In these very moments, your sustained imagination becomes your most crucial and powerful tool. Instead of allowing doubt, frustration, or impatience to take over, you must continue to firmly hold onto your vision, trusting entirely that the physical obstacles are only temporary. You have to boldly ignore the immediate evidence of your physical senses whenever they do not perfectly align with the beautiful outcome you desire. To truly overcome the barriers between you and your highest life, you must remain steadfast and continue nurturing your vision with absolute faith and certainty, even when it looks like absolutely nothing is happening around you. By persistently holding onto your imagined reality despite any external conditions, you powerfully bridge the gap between the unseen world and physical existence, guiding your desire into inevitable manifestation. All transformation is, at its very core, entirely self-transformation. To truly experience a shift in the world around you, you must understand that the outer reality is simply an obedient servant to your inner mind. The physical world is nothing more than clay in your hands, waiting patiently to be shaped from the inside out. You do not rise to new heights by struggling to change other people, attempting to manipulate external conditions, or forcing events to conform to your will. Instead, you rise solely by changing your own internal state. Absolutely nothing will move or shift in your physical experience unless you first make a profound movement within your own consciousness. If you wish to change your world, your internal stance toward it must be completely transformed first. You must stop waiting for external circumstances to become your desired reality, and instead, allow your inner world to become it right now. When you make this inner shift, the outer reality is compelled to follow faithfully behind you like a shadow. Your internal state is entirely governed by what you quietly accept as truth about yourself. Therefore, you must boldly accept a higher truth, claim a much greater identity, and assume a richer story to live from, rather than constantly striving toward it. When you fundamentally change your concept of self, your entire world automatically rearranges itself to perfectly match that new identity. Whatever you deeply embody within is exactly what you will externalize in your daily life. It is an unbreakable law that whatever you consent to inwardly simply must express itself outwardly. All true transformation is, at its core, self-transformation. And at the very heart of this process lies a profound realization: there is absolutely nothing you need to earn, and no worthiness you must acquire. You have always been perfectly worthy of the life you desire, right from the very beginning. So often, the illusion is that one must climb, crawl, and strain through life to finally receive what is wanted, as if fulfillment is a prize for endless struggle. But the profound truth is that what you seek has already been given, it is already yours for the taking, and it requires only your inner knowing, not your physical exhaustion. The delay you might experience in your life has never been a delay in the giving, but solely in your own capacity to receive. Hesitation to believe in your own power naturally clothes itself in waiting and in endless preparation. But you must strip all of that away, because what you truly need is not more lessons, more external confirmations, or more delays dressed up as personal development. What you need is pure recognition, the recognition of the magnificent being you already are. The desires you hold are not distant objects out in the world. They are already a living part of you within your consciousness. Therefore, your role is never to strive, force, or fight against the current. It is simply to rest in the quiet conviction that what you imagine is your true inheritance. You do not change your life by earning a new reality, but by quietly accepting it and claiming it as a present fact. Stop asking if you are ready to step into your greatness, because you are, and you always have been. The only readiness you will ever need is the bold willingness to step in, to believe, and to recognize that all the power you have been searching for is already awake inside of you. True transformation is never about forcing the external world to change. All transformation is entirely self-transformation. You have been told that the kingdom is within you, and this is the absolute truth. This kingdom is not located in the stars, it is not found in the opinions of others, and it is certainly not waiting for you in some far-off future when conditions finally seem ideal. The kingdom is your own consciousness. Everything you desire is not outside of you, it is already a living part of you within your consciousness. Every longing you feel is simply a whisper from your higher self, a beautiful invitation to awaken and remember what is already yours. When you turn within and claim this kingdom, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself in complete obedience to your inner decree. All that you consider to be the outside world is merely a projection, a reflection, and a faithful mirror of your internal state of consciousness. Therefore, to experience a new reality, you do not need to overcome the world, nor do you need to fix what is out there. You rise and elevate your life not by trying to change other people, external conditions, or physical events, but solely by changing your own internal state. The within always rules the without. When you fundamentally change your concept of yourself and boldly accept a higher truth within, your entire world will automatically rearrange itself to perfectly match that new identity. You simply need to revise what you have accepted inside your own mind, firmly claim your internal kingdom, and the physical world will effortlessly transform to reflect your inner shift. All transformation is ultimately self-transformation, and at the very heart of this process is a profound shift in how we approach our deepest desires. You must learn to live from your goal, rather than constantly striving towards it. Most people naturally operate from a conditional mindset, telling themselves that they will finally be happy, successful, or at peace only when certain external events happen. They put their sense of fulfillment completely on hold, endlessly waiting for the outside world to validate their dreams. But living from the end completely disrupts this waiting game. It demands that you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually embody the state of having already achieved what you seek, long before any physical evidence appears in your life. This is not merely pretending or engaging in empty wishful thinking, it is the profound act of truly adopting the mindset, feeling the exact emotions, and carrying the energy of the version of yourself who already possesses what you desire. When you live from the end, you actively replace old, limiting beliefs with absolute truths like I am abundant or I am loved. This powerful shift signals to your subconscious mind that your desired outcome is already a present reality, perfectly aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with that new truth. By choosing to focus entirely on the internal experience of fulfillment, you fundamentally transform how you perceive and interact with the world, allowing your new mindset to naturally reshape your external circumstances. Living from your goal also brilliantly eliminates the heavy resistance of doubt, fear, and impatience. When you are deeply attached to exactly how or when your desire will manifest, you create unnecessary tension and anxiety. However, when you live as though your dream is already realized, there is absolutely no need to worry about the future because, in your mind, it has already happened. This relaxed, unshakable state of certainty removes internal blockages and allows life to flow freely, delivering your desired outcome in the best possible way. Ultimately, living from the end shifts your focus away from desperately needing external validation and grounds you in pure, internal satisfaction. It is not a passive act of wishing, but an active, powerful process of becoming the exact person you are meant to be right now, effortlessly drawing your desired reality directly to you.